Welcome in. It is September 8th, believe it or not, already. Friday night, 10:09. We're a little bit late. You may notice that only two of the three Musketeers are here right now. Dutch is working through some internet connection activities. He gave us the green light to go ahead and start. He will be joining us here momentarily on the SmackDown review show here on the Sportskeeda Wrestling Facebook page and the Sportskeeda by WrestleBinge by Sportskeeda YouTube channel. It never gets any easier saying that, SP3, but here we are. It's a Friday night. Appreciate everybody who is tuning into the show. Wait a minute. Hold on. Let's see. I told him to reboot his computer, right? So this is where we're at now, okay? I told him to reboot his computer, see if we can get the internet working. We got Dutch. Dutch hey!
You saved my life.
I mean, I do what I can.
I've been having internet problems anyway.
I mean, I just gave you the generic IT man response of, have you tried turning it off and turning it back on? And here you go. Yeah, sometimes that shit works.
See, I use my neighbor's internet connection, and he changed the password, the bastard.
That son of a...
And now it messes me up sometimes. I've tried to talk to them.
You just can't trust people nowadays. You really just can't trust them, you know? No. We're glad to have you. You're not pixelated anymore. You're not delayed anymore. We are ready to rock and roll. The Three Musketeers are here on Smack Talk. Thank you guys so much for joining. We appreciate everybody who's in the chat. Ozzy and Josh and Steven and Safet. We see you all. We appreciate you. Interact with the show. Get your comments in. Questions in, concerns. If you got any questions for Dutch, throw them up in the chat. We'll try to get to as many of them as possible before this 45-minute-ish show runs out today. Gentlemen, SmackDown tonight on the heels of Payback in Pittsburgh this past weekend, which I was at in person. Thought that was a pretty good show live. Don't know how it came across on television because I haven't rewatched it yet. But regardless, tonight, a lot of Judgment Day movement after they won the tag team titles. I don't know where their allegiances lie because they were all over the damn map tonight, and I don't think anybody really knows what the hell's going on with them. I do know that LA Knight continues to be over as you-know-what, and yeah, there's some division on what's going on with Jimmy Uso right now. Dutch, how are you doing tonight now that your internet connection is fixed, and what'd you think of the show overall tonight?
Oh, hey, I like that show. I really liked it because not a lot of the same people. I mean, same people, but in different conditions. I enjoyed the show, and I'm thinking about the show as opposed to AEW. I mean, you cannot match WWE production values at all.
I mean, yeah.
And I was thinking, what if he was sitting there and some of my friend comes in and sits down and says, "Why do you watch this crap?" But if they watch the show, it's a well-produced show and a sharply produced show too. So I'll hand it to them there because they know exactly what they're doing. They changed almost everything. Now they got, and it's still centering around the bloodline, but now they're spreading it out. And I like what Paul Heyman said. Who said tonight that the bloodline was disintegrating? Who said that they're crumbling? One of the Street Profits.
Bobby Lashley.
Bobby Lashley. So they did a call back to that, and that was good. So it's not like they're out there talking about something else. They're talking about what they're going to do now and in the future. So I really liked the show tonight. Well produced and well executed.
SP3, I'll say this much for the show. It was refreshing to see Judgment Day mixing it up with some new folks because it has been a heavy dose of Sammy and KO and Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins or some combination of those four since Mania, pretty much at this point. And yeah, ever since Edge left the picture as far as Judgment Day is concerned, it's been there outside of what Rhea and Dom are doing, but for the most part, as them as a collective unit, it's been those four and those four only. It was nice to see him in there with the Brawling Brutes tonight. It was nice to see that stare down with Lashley and the Street Profits. And then at the end of the show, they're like offering up AJ Styles as a sacrifice to the bloodline, which I'm like, y'all talk about them crumbling and y'all are going to take over, but now you're pairing up with, it's interesting. There's a lot of different ways they could go with it, but hey, they're mixing it up with different people. That was refreshing. I enjoyed that tonight.
Yeah, the final moment, it made me, more intrigued than confused. I was a little bit of both, I'll be honest. Because they did say that whole promo where they said they're taking over, and then they gave the sacrifice of AJ Styles to the bloodline at the end. I think I'll be honest, though, the bloodline stuff, it's jumped the shark. It's jumped the shark for me. It's jumped the shark for me. I'm not into it. Jimmy Uso trying to get back into the bloodline just feels like we're rehashing something from 2021. So that part of it, when it was focused on the Judgment Day, the show was really good. When it was focused on LA Knight, the show was really good. The opening women's tag team matchup was really good. The wrestling overall on the show was really good between Judgment Day's tag team matchup with the Brawling Brutes and the AJ Styles Jimmy Uso matchup. But the main story just seems like it needs something. It needs something to turn it around again. Like, it's just not where it once was.
I know there are a lot of people who feel the same way about the Jimmy Uso story. And as soon as, we get Dutch back into the fold here, I guess his internet dropped off again. His neighbors really got to upgrade to Spectrum or something. They're just terrible right now. But as soon as we get Dutch back, I want to get his thoughts on it. I don't think the story, and this is something I brought up on another channel this week, I don't think the story is I think it's actually kind of rather simple, but I might be reading into things wrong because I tend to do that from time to time. Going into the chat here, Clinton wants to know when Liv Morgan will be back. Don't know, honestly. There were reports, I believe she was backstage at Raw this week. Don't know if she's going to be coming back into action anytime soon. I would imagine, though, and this is just me being, speculative here, which is irresponsible of me, but they brought her back after a shoulder injury, and then she almost immediately re-injured it. I have a feeling they're going to take their time with bringing Liv Morgan back once they feel that she is fully recuperated and she is ready to rock and roll. Let's see. Steven Chambers saying SmackDown was better than Dynamite this week. You are out of your damn mind if you think that SmackDown was better than Dynamite this week.
Nah,
it was not. I'm sorry, Steven. I love you. I appreciate you always joining us here, but
he does not love you, Steven.
Dynamite.
He's told me the same thing. Watch him.
Dynamite lived up to its name. That show was fire this week. There was, between Tony and Ricky and everything that's going, the character work and the story work in AEW is really starting to take a step forward here. I love Dynamite this week.
See, I don't get into the tribalism of what WWE show is better than what AEW show. What I will say is that our good friends, Dr. Chris Featherstone and Vince Russo, are reviewing the better WWE show right now. I'm sorry. Ever since Gunther went to Raw, that's been the better show.
And congratulations.
I will agree there because Gunther's the man.
He was. It was I was thinking about it today watching the show. I was like, SmackDown was really good when it was just focused on Sammy and the Bloodline and Gunther having great matches. It was really good. This is good. But I was this is a good show. This is like a 7 out of 10 type of show. But this feels like this is as good as it's going to get right now because you don't have Gunther and the Bloodline needs something to turn the corner after the mistake of SummerSlam.
Yeah, congratulations to Gunther, by the way. Now officially the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion of all time. That's nuts, man. That record was up there almost as long as I have been alive. Since August of 1988, 35 years. That is absolutely insane that Honky Tonk Man had that record that long. And I don't know if Gunther's reign is going to end anytime soon, but I kind of hope after what we saw this past Monday that Chad Gable eventually is the guy who takes that title off of him. Ozzy asking, why is Bianca out? Homegirl's earned a damn break, Ozzy. It's storyline injury. They attacked her, storyline, but she has been going 24/7, 365 for this company for well over 2 years now. And that goes beyond pay-per-view appearances, title reigns, TV shows. She has been at every community event. She has been at every press junket, anything and everything that WWE has slapped their logo on. Bianca Belair has been there as a representative. Girl just needs some time off. Like if anybody's earned a vacation in WWE at this point, it is Bianca Belair. So hopefully she's resting up and she'll be good to go and rejuvenated when she comes back. Maribel S.
Wait a minute? Did you say you want Chad Gable to beat Gunther?
Yes.
That's what I thought you said.
You ain't watching Raw. You ain't watching Raw. I guarantee.
It don't matter. It don't matter. It don't matter. He needs some. I don't mind him getting beat, but I think Chad, it might last a week or 2 weeks, but I think that would hurt Gunther more than it would help Chad. Because all Gunther has to do, he needs to come back and take that title back. Believe me.
You need to start watching Raw. Maribel S.
Hey, I think that was an insult, Sid. I think
that was a little bit of a slight.
Yes, it was.
If you have watched this
they had
Gable and Gunther over the last several weeks, believe me, you would not be painting Chad Gable as a negative in Gunther's loss column.
I'm agreeing, but I think that Chad to take it. I mean, I think Chad, a babyface, is always better chasing than getting. See what I mean? So I'm just following old booking psychology. So when he gets it, okay, now he's got it. See, people will come to see the babyface win. They won't come to see him lose.
Look, I'm not saying that Chad's going to have it forever, but I mean, you could take it off of him really quickly for another heel who's ready to come up.
You could
and win something in the mid card, because eventually Gunther's got to drop that title, because Gunther is tailor-made world heavyweight champion. Like, he's going to have a reign for a really long time coming up here soon. Like, he's got to drop that belt before WrestleMania season, in my opinion.
He could drop it if they have something for him to go to immediately. Like the world's title.
Like winning.
I think that should be. I think he should lose the the Intercontinental Championship by like the end of the year, and he should probably be in the running to either win like Royal Rumble or Elimination Chamber to go on to WrestleMania and beat Seth Rollins or whoever is the World Heavyweight Champion at that time. Because he made the NXT UK Championship. Yep. And was the longest reigning champion of the modern era at that time. Then he restores the Intercontinental title, becomes the longest reigning all-time champion. And you have this world championship that you want to be seen as prestigious, that you want to be seen on the same level as Roman's title. And regardless of what Seth Rollins does, I'm sorry, they haven't accomplished that quite yet. I think Gunther is the guy that could get there.
And who predicted it first? I love that guy.
Fearless leader. Getting to our main topic tonight, Maribel S. bringing it up in the chat a few minutes ago. Look, the guy's everywhere, and this will probably be hopefully this is like the last time we bring him up until he pops up on TV somewhere, right? Whether it's Impact Wrestling, which apparently is an option, it's on the table. Whether it's back in AEW at some point, or whether he does show up back in WWE, but there are some fans who want to see Punk back in WWE. I'm sure there are some people, Dutch, in the locker room who want to see CM Punk back in WWE. And I'm sure equally there are a bunch of people who don't want to see him back in WWE, fans and talent alike. Would you, Dutch Mantell, following his release from AEW, knowing everything that went on, both backstage altercations and how difficult the man can be to work with, knowing how it might upset the apple cart that is the WWE locker room, would you like to see CM Punk return to WWE at some point now that he is officially a free agent?
Yes, I would. You know, who might have the last laugh in all this? It's Punk. Because Punk caused a scene. I think he did it voluntarily. I think he did it on purpose. I think he wanted to get fired. And that was something they couldn't overlook. And it's given him just about enough time, because how long ago did we see him at that WWE taping. Were they in Chicago? He was out in the parking lot. That looked like a setup. That looked like a setup deal from the beginning. All of a sudden, he's out in the parking lot, and a fan catches him on video. Oh, what is this? Then he didn't say anything about it. I think if he come out on WWE right now, the business would just explode. Then he would come out there, and now he can be the big asshole, CM Punk, and be instantly over. So I think that's what we're going to see. I think he did it on purpose. Now that I run it back in my head, anybody buying this with me or no?
It's interesting.
I think he knew exactly what he's going to do, because it's going to benefit him much more than staying with AEW. And I don't think he wants a Booker's job anyway. Booker's job, you got to worry about everybody else's stuff. CM Punk, he just wants to worry about his stuff. And I think that we're going to see him in WWE within, I'm going to say, 3 to 4 months.
We got people in the chat who are saying Survivor Series, which is in Chicago. The interesting thing here is, we don't really know. Now, he was terminated with cause, which
that's good. They can't sue him now.
Yeah, which typically means, hey, we ain't going to pay you. Contractual
That's
obligations.
Good.
Maybe he has like a 30-day, 90-day somewhat non-compete. Who knows? Maybe he's free right now. Again, there was a report today that he could show up on Impact tomorrow, apparently. So I don't know. Maybe he's fully free. Who knows? But Dutch, it's interesting that you say that, because you and I rarely are on the same page. Rarely. SP3 can back me up on this, because I've said this multiple times over the last couple of weeks. I'm 100% with you. The way this man has acted, he wanted to get fired.
No shit.
There is no way on earth that any man in his right mind, 3 minutes before he is about to have the biggest match of his career in front of the biggest crowd of his career, 80,000 plus, is going to get involved in a backstage altercation with some 26-year-old who just competed on the pre-show over some bullshit, over some trivial BS. And this guy is going to put him in a chokehold before he's supposed to go have a match with Samoa Joe, and then lunge at his boss? Why? Yeah. Why then? Why? You couldn't have handled that later? Have a civil conversation with the guy later if you're going to get up. I know CM Punk, and I respect CM Punk, and I admire CM Punk for always being there to fight for himself and, always, fight for what he believes is right, especially in his own life. But pick your battles, pick your time. Some of the stuff that we keep getting reported about.
And he did.
I did not want to be there. There's no way this man wanted to be there, SP3. I mean, are you on Conspiracy Theory Island with me and Dutch right now? Or, what are you thinking is going on?
I mean, I of course, there is a part of me that believes that CM Punk did not want to be there. All I will say about this whole entire CM Punk situation is I hope this man gets help. Honestly, I don't think the wrestling business is the best place for him. Do I foresee him being back in WWE this year? No, that's not how this timeline works, guys. You have to realize the pattern here. CM Punk does this all the time. ROH, he left the company on good terms, pretty much. He waited a few months, shows up in WWE. Then, he's in WWE. He leaves. He left for 7-8 years that time. Come on. But what comes after that? What comes after the last time he left a major company? The podcast. We got to get a podcast before he shows up anywhere. He can't sign with WWE and do that podcast. No. He can't give the same type of podcast he will give under a WWE contract that he will do now that he is not under any contract with a major promotion. So he's got to do the podcast first, then he shows up in WWE. Of course, the most likely scenario is him showing up in Chicago at Survivor Series. I think it's
when is that?
That's
when
in
is
November.
that?
November.
That's in November.
That's it. That's where he's showing up.
I think he shows up at the Royal Rumble. I think he shows up at the Royal Rumble, and they just go ahead with whatever was discussed when he was suspended from AEW, and he goes in the Royal Rumble, and whoever eliminates him, he works a program with them at WrestleMania, and it's top bill, and it might be the main event of night 1 of WrestleMania. So sorry, fans of women's wrestling. I'm a fan of women's wrestling, but I'm sorry. We're gonna get Roman on night 2 and CM Punk on night 1 of WrestleMania. I think that WWE,
unless it's Punk and Roman.
Like, seriously, Punk and Roman.
I mean, then it's sorry, Cody Rhodes. You gotta finish your story some other way. You gotta learn a different language to finish your story. But I don't know if CM Punk, the best place for him is professional wrestling. And yeah, it does seem like he has either issues or he was purposely trying to get fired, whichever way it is.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's that wrestling is the best place for him, because this is the same place, WWE, that he said made him sick before. So you tell me it's gonna be perfectly fine? No, that's why if I'm WWE, I'm not having him come back in Survivor Series. This thing might go crash and burn before we get to WrestleMania. You bring him back at the Royal Rumble.
Never say no.
You only make him show up twice before WrestleMania.
So
never say no applies to wrestlers, and it also applies to promotions. I've heard them say that. Well, we'll never use him again, and he'll. I swear, if they need him, which he would tremendously help. I mean, they're in good shape right now, but he would really, really help. And the reason I think he pitched that bitch right before he went out, because he knew it would hit all the news sources. It would hit all the podcasts, all the damn Dave Meltzers and Alvarez and all this. Oh, we started a fight. But what I was really concerned about, Tony Khan going out there in Chicago and announcing he wasn't there and said he's never been scared for his life anymore. I went, what the hell? Well, I knew he grew up. Dad had $1 billion, so I guess you can be protected. And that just added to it, because now, has Punk come out with any kind of a statement? No, he hasn't, has he?
He's been quiet. He's been eerily quiet.
Right, because
Sports Illustrated said that he was preparing a response, and it may or may not be explosive, and I trust Justin Barrasso, who reported that, but we haven't heard anything from him yet, unless he's trying to figure out what he can legally say, because that man has signed a lot of paperwork with AEW, so I'm sure there's some legal things that he's combing through at the moment. Go ahead, real quick, SP3. Yeah.
My percentage I'm going to put on it right now is 75%. How I came to that equation is that if this was Vince McMahon 100% in charge, he was doing everything like he was a year and a half ago, 100% CM Punk is back. Because this is Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon brought back Bret Hart, Ultimate Warrior, all these people. He don't care what anyone says. CM Punk is coming back because CM Punk going to bring him money. He knows this.
Yeah,
with Triple H, I think that it's more of a 50-50. That's why 150 divided by 2, you come up to 75, because Triple H will listen more to the guys back there. And there is a lot of different guys that don't want to have CM Punk back there, regardless of if they're friends with the Young Bucks, they have their previous experiences with CM Punk. There are just a lot of people back there, despite what happened with him showing up backstage. It's been confirmed that wasn't planned. He wasn't welcomed with open arms or anything like that.
But here's the thing.
He's not going to be welcome with open arms anywhere, but he would draw money.
But here's the thing. This time next week, whose call is it? Endeavor deal is going through on Tuesday, according to reports. So
maybe they're waiting for that.
Is it Triple H's call? Is it going to be Nick Khan's call? Is it going to be somebody else above an Endeavor? Like, we don't know who's going to be making the hiring decisions this time next week. So everything is up in the air. What if Fox comes at WWE and says, oh, hey, you want us to pay money and re-up for a TV rights deal? We want CM Punk on this damn show, and we'll pony up the dough to do that. all of this is up in the air. So Fox could come at them with that big ass Fox money that they got. And yeah, we're going to end up with CM Punk on SmackDown if it is Nick Khan's call, or if it's somebody else's above him. Dana White's call, Chris, I don't know. None of us know how this structure is going to work once this deal goes through. So my belief would be, right, like WWE is under its own umbrella, UFC is under its own umbrella. They handle their own hiring decisions, but I don't know what the trickle down is going to be of that, because I work at iHeartMedia, but I mean, it ain't Bob and Rich, the guys who own the company, who do the hiring for 700 WLW. So I don't know what the structure is going to be, and none of us do, or how that's going to hinder anything. But going back to CM Punk and the Royal Rumble here real quick, SP3, because you mentioned that, and I remember an interview that CM Punk did about whether or not he would go back to WWE, and he kind of thought about what that would look like. And he painted the exact scenario of him showing up, being a surprise entrant in the Royal Rumble, and maybe he would, win it, and he would go on to WrestleMania, and he called it boring and formulaic. And then we find out whenever, 2022, end of 2022, 2023, when he wanted to come back to WWE, his big idea was to show back up at the frickin' Royal Rumble, get tossed out, and have a match with Kevin Owens at WrestleMania. That was his big idea, which was boring, generic, and formulaic just a year or so beforehand. And now we're talking about him coming back at the Royal Rumble this year, which, according to CM Punk, would be boring and formulaic. I just find all that very, very interesting. Like, I'm just going off of what the man said, and then what the reports ended up being, and what might actually happen.
If you go by what wrestlers say when they leave places, nobody could work anywhere. Because I've heard, now this is back in the old days, one booker would fire a guy. He said, that son of a bitch, I'll never use him again in my life. Screw him, go to hell, I'm done with him. And the guy that quit or got fired, the wrestler says, screw them, screw that bastard. I will never work there again. About 6 months later, or 8 months later, the wrestler's sitting there and he ain't making no money. And he said, let me call up there. Ching, 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 ching. Hello. Hey, Bill. Oh, is this Jim? The booker now. Oh, yeah. What are you doing? Oh, man, I was just thinking about you. And then the guy said, well, I'm thinking about coming in. God, I tell you what, perfect timing. I can use you. When can you start? That's how it works. They only want them when they need them.
Time and light bank accounts heal all wounds. All right, like that's just where we're at right now. Now, CM Punk's made a lot of money in his day.
Yeah,
I don't know if you need. I don't know if you need.
But I think it's
about the money.
I think
it's not about the money with CM Punk. It is CM Punk is very, very spiteful, ladies and gentlemen. I'm gonna be honest right now because I'm the perfect person to have on here. I'm a balanced opinion. I think that CM Punk
is one of the
greatest talkers of all time. I think that he is one of the greatest in-ring performers that's been in WWE. His time at top, I think, was one of the best for a main eventer, especially at that time, and really kind of set the pathway for a lot of the independent stars like Seth Rollins, Jon Moxley, all of those guys that became prominent in WWE. He was a trendsetter. He's a trailblazer. And what he did for AEW in a year and a half, maybe 12 months with all the injuries is probably up there with anyone in the 2020s. As far as this decade already, he's right up there with the best of the best. All of that saying, I think that CM Punk is also the most thin-skinned, spiteful individual that has ever been a top guy in professional wrestling history. I think that a guy that can stay up there and be in the ring and stand face to face with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and say your arms are too short to box with God, and then he is flexed and wants to fight Dolph Ziggler's little brother over a tweet. And Dylan McKay from 90210, his son, he wants to fight him because he quoted Justin Timberlake. If you told me this in 2013, I would just say, damn, what a fall from grace.
And you would like, Sid, to see somebody kick his ass, wouldn't you?
No.
So his stuff worked on you.
I said all that stuff before that because I like CM Punk.
I was gonna say, look,
I want him to get help.
Oh, okay.
I think professional wrestling on screen anyway is better and healthier when CM Punk is involved. And I would like to see CM Punk actually go out and end his career on a positive note. I'll say this much if I'm WWE, though. I ain't waiting to the Royal Rumble. I am bringing his ass in as soon as I possibly can and strike while the iron is hot. That's like, seriously.
I would do with that. Yep.
The longer you wait, the cooler he gets and the less people care. Unless there's another report or something else pops up that fires people back up. I think the longer you wait, I strike while the iron's hot. Personally, I think Survivor Series is the latest I'm bringing him in. Latest. And I'm wanting it, and I don't want it leaked. I want it to be a massive fucking surprise. I want everybody from Sean Ross.
It's not going to be a massive surprise in Chicago. That's what everybody. You're not.
That's why I'm saying. That's why I'm saying the latest. The latest you do it is Survivor Series. If you can legally bring him in, you do it before then. You shock the hell out of everybody. He's come back a million times in Chicago. Who gives a crap? Who cares?
Yeah, who does care? Yeah.
I don't care if CM Punk comes back in Chicago. I don't care about Chicago. We've seen it 14 times in the last year and a half already. Bring him back someplace else. Who cares about Chicago, SP3?
He's speechless.
I'm not
speechless.
I'm just letting him go because I'm not from Chicago. I don't care. I don't care that much, but if you have a pay-per-view in Chicago, you're gonna bring them back at Fastlane. You're gonna bring them back on a random Raw in Tusalo. What the hell are you doing?
So you're thinking, Sid, that it's not a good thing to bring him back to WWE? Yes or no? Is it a good thing or no?
For whom? For whom?
For WWE to bring back CM
For
Punk.
WWE, it is. For WWE, it is. Yeah.
He's saying for Punk personally, he doesn't know if it's necessarily the best move.
But you're saying he has issues.
Clearly.
I am just going on what we have learned, what is being reported. I don't know him personally. I don't know him personally to diagnose him, but from all that we do you guys, I did some research. Okay. You guys are forcing my hand here. I have a diary of everything that went down between CM Punk and AEW in the last year and a half.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You guys
I've read the list, but yeah, go ahead.
We're listening. He says, "I have a list. I have a list," and then he stops talking. Okay.
No. I'm just saying. I have it here.
Armbar.
Exactly. It's just the same thing over and over again but basically it's the whole Hangman Adam Page he says the live incident. Then you have the whole brawl out, him verbally and physically abusing management. You had the whole Ryan Nemeth saga. You had the whole Jack Perry saga. You have him banning the head of talent relations, Christopher Daniels, from Collision, banning Matt Hardy and Isaiah Cassidy from Collision. You have him getting Ace Steel hired back with back pay.
For him to get fired again.
For him to get fired again, because he also got released this week after all of that. You have the whole all in incident, and basically him leaking the information that he wasn't picked up from the airport, despite no one from AEW being picked up from the airport.
Well,
I just gave you the shorter version.
I was going to say
the Spark Notes.
The other big one was him actually like going out into the middle of the ring on live television to call out Hangman Adam Page and call him a coward, even though there was never any plans for them to have a continued program. So this is a guy that I don't think you can trust with a microphone in his hand. You can't trust his durability given his recent injury history. And you can't trust that this man ain't going to blow up backstage. But all of that said, if you're WWE, Yeah, you bring his ass back in immediately.
Of course.
Immediately.
Of course. But that's why you
He's
don't
nothing
bring him
more.
back at Survivor Series. You telling me you expect CM Punk to get from November to April after this past year and a half? I'm sorry. No, we sign him in November. We have that meeting and we sit down with him and we get him on the dollar dime, but he's coming back at the Royal Rumble, folks. We're gonna have him Royal Rumble. He can show up at Elimination Chamber and then WrestleMania. 3 shows. Boom.
Now I would sign.
They have to be leaking something about him joining WWE because that is great for their business. Because the fans are going to sit back and say when, maybe, and that viewership is going to go up because the guys, he does have issues, but that's his gimmick now. Because you don't know, he's a friggin' nutcase, so he may go nuts at any time. So people want to be there when he finally does blow it.
Hey,
so
look, we'll know it's
coming. It'd be a good thing for Vince McMahon to come out and CM Punk just choke his ass out.
Look, if they change the name of the pay-per-view to Survivor Series Save the Last Dance, look, we know something's up. All right. So, it's coming sooner rather than later. So we'll see what happens. All right, let's dive into what actually happened on the show tonight. We open up SmackDown with Charlotte and Shotzi versus Damage Control.
You got 10 minutes.
Yeah. Props to the Boston crowd. They were hot for this one from the get-go. Solid, really fun bout. Shotzi gets another win here over Bayley because SP3 Asuka returns, causes the distraction, allowing Shotzi to get the W over Bayley, and then we get the Asuka Io Sky standoff to set up what we believed at that point to be the next title program. And then we found out later on after Asuka cut a promo, and then Io Sky said, "Bet, let's go. I ain't afraid of you. I'm ready for Asuka. Let's do this thing." She issued the challenge, and now we're gonna get this match in 2 weeks. I'd like to see this match at Fastlane personally, but whatever. 2 weeks on SmackDown, hey, I'll take it. We're getting Asuka and Io. I can't really complain. SP3.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. I think that it's going to be a very good matchup in 2 weeks, and maybe that parlays into, getting us a pay-per-view matchup because WWE loves to do the matchup on TV to set up the match on pay-per-view, but as of late, they've been if they have a title match on TV, the rematch is usually going to be on TV, as we saw with Gunther and Gable. But I think that is smart to kind of position Io with Asuka. She's someone with enough name that I think Io can beat and move on from. It gives her more credibility as a champion. But I hope that they give them a little bit more and at least give them the pay-per-view matchup.
Now, Steven saying 2 weeks, Io versus Asuka. Might we see Kairi Sane return? Look, now she reportedly she has agreed to terms to come back to WWE, but I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, SP3, she has dates that she's obligated to do through October. Is that correct?
Yes, she said that she's going on through this month, basically through September. Okay. So after this month, she's going to go on an indefinite hiatus, and she's supposed to return to the company in November. But, she could just show up on a random episode of SmackDown because we're just bringing everybody back in Tooele, Mississippi.
Hey, if it sets up a triple threat match,
oh my God,
sets up a triple threat match for the women's title at freaking Fastlane, sign me the hell up. But Dutch,
to show up in Tupelo, Mississippi, oh my God. That's enough on its own. Wait a minute, you're frozen, guys. Hey, I'll be back.
We're frozen?
Okay, look, you both were starting to futz around, and then made me think maybe it was my issue, so I don't know. Am I good? I
don't know. You guys look fine to me. I was fine. I don't know.
I don't know. Anywho. Well, we'll let Dutch come back in. He'll be back in a few moments. But I did like this match tonight. I like that there's even though like each one of them is a little bit of BS involved in it. I'm happy they're giving Shotzi some wins. Like there's actually finally some movement with Shotzi, and I think her performance. She seems more comfortable out there now. Like she feels like she's allowed to be herself out there. And yeah, I don't know. I like the fact that
Oh, what happened? Yeah, I don't know. I thought it was me for a second because I see that Dutch here is frozen. So is everybody confirmed that Dutch is frozen and Rick is gone? Everybody, or is it just me? I don't know. But yes, I think that Shotzi, they're positioning her for a title opportunity at EO Sky coming up. I think that that's the reason why she's been getting so many wins against Bailey. Oh, all of my screen is showing. I don't like all of this to be showing, but it's okay. I'm here alone. I'm holding down the ship. Don't worry. Dutch and Rick will be back with us. But yeah, I think they're positioning the women's division quite well right now. And yes, John Clark, thank you. Thank you, John Clark and Steven for yes for confirming that yes, they are frozen. They're the ones that are frozen. And now it's just me here. And I saw, oh damn, I thought Dutch was coming back. But yeah, Dutch will be back with us. Rick will be back with us. But 2 weeks time, we got Io Sky versus Asuka for the WWE Women's Championship. They also seem to be positioning Shotzi as a winner. I don't know what they're doing with Charlotte Flair at this point. It seems like Charlotte's kind of just a third ancillary part of this whole feud going on, whether it's Shotzi versus Bailey or now Asuka going after Io. Maybe we get Io and Charlotte after the Asuka matchup. Maybe that's the pay-per-view match. Hey, I don't know. We'll have to see. I don't even have notes on this show because I was really relying on Rick to guide us through this show. But I do know that at this point, they did have the backstage segment with Paul Heyman talking to Jimmy Uso, saying that basically that Jimmy Uso has to take care of AJ Styles tonight while he'll take care of Jimmy Uso business. Meanwhile, then he pulled up Paul Heyman on AJ Styles, basically provoked him and got him to lay hands on him, which led to Jimmy Uso attacking AJ Styles from behind, beating him down, throwing him over a cart backstage. This basically set up later in the night AJ Styles pulling up on Carl Anderson and Doc Gallows along with Mishin of the OC. They're over there like playing on their phone. I don't know, not caring that they don't have a match or anything to do on the show. And AJ Styles just slapped the phone out of their hand, saying that they're not taking things seriously, basically trying to get them to focus because he has the big match against Jimmy Uso. And Dutch Mantell is back, ladies and gentlemen. He is back.
Hey, when I was gone, CM Punk called me.
Oh,
and he said, listen, guys, y'all need to keep that stuff a little more quiet because, of course, I manufactured all this. Oh, and Rick is back.
Hi.
Rick, we were just talking. I said that
back on time.
While I was out, CM Punk called me and told me, he says, you guys might need to keep all that stuff quiet a little bit because I spent a lot of time putting it together and you guys are about ready to expose it. So, but that's our job. We got to tell it as we see it. And that's it. Because you get the truth here. You don't get a bunch of bullshit unless we give it to you. So, which I've never done, by the way. I just want that to be put out there for general consumption.
Right.
So what were y'all talking about? Me?
I was going to say, where did we leave off here? Did we move forward at all?
I moved on from the women's segment and was talking about all the backstage stuff leading to the main event with Jimmy Uso and AJ Styles, him beating him up backstage after Paul Heyman provoked AJ. And then AJ Styles pulling up on the OC and basically telling them to take things more seriously and saying he's going to take care of things tonight against Jimmy Uso himself. And he wants them to stay in the back. Even though they could have came out at the end when he got jumped by Judgment Day. I'm just saying.
Yeah. All right. So Dutch, what is your take?
I'm glad they didn't come out because now I got to watch that group back in the ring. Oh, I don't. What do they call the OG or what do they call them?
OC.
What's their name? OC or what? That team does nothing. I mean, I think they would hurt the team they're working with. But anyway, so they're mad at AJ, so they don't come, or he's mad at them, so do it yourself. I thought it was fine.
So what is your take on the evolution of Jimmy Uso here? Who for
Well, I'm like Sid on this. I'm kind of lost in it. I don't know what they're trying to do, but it's thought-provoking, but I don't know how much thinking wrestling fans really like to do. They like to be kind of slapped in the face with it and waiting for it. But I don't know what we're waiting for, is what I'm saying. Plus, Roman hadn't have been around, so we don't even know what Roman thinks.
So here's what I'm reading into this.
Oh God, here we go.
I think it's pretty simple from what I'm reading into it, right? So Jimmy did all of this stuff with his brother because he thought eventually Jay would come with him. So Jay did not come with him. Jay decided, screw this, I'm out, I quit. So Jay quits, and now Jimmy's like, all right, well, I guess I'm on my own. And then last week, he's getting punked out by AJ Styles. He's getting punked out by Solo Sikoa. He's getting punked out by everybody else, and he's getting his ass whooped at every beck and turn, and he has no backup whatsoever.
Nothing.
He's a 17-year-old kid who said, F you, Dad, I'm out, and then realized the real world sucks and went back home to Daddy. That's where I think Jimmy Uso is at right now. He regrets the decisions that he has made, and now he's trying to get back into the bloodline where he is comfortable because Jay Uso left because of what he did and went on his own on Monday Night Raw. So I think Jimmy, after one night, was like, screw this. I want back in. Like, hey, that's why I'm showing up with the shirt. Everything is great. We the ones. You never said I was out, so that means I'm in. And Paul Heyman's like, yeah, but nah. You are, but nah.
But
like,
you're not. Yeah,
we got some issues here. That's what I'm reading into the situation. That's what I read. Now, I think WWE, if that's what they're trying to tell, this story, they could be a little bit more upfront with it. But, like, it is left widely to open into interpretation, and a lot of people are confused.
Well, but you got to have Roman there to tell that story. See, because they're just talking in the background around Roman. He needs to show up and lay down what's going on. Then people will kind of get it. I hope.
They're talking into a void, basically, at that point. It's just like, it's nothing is changing. I heard that reasoning that Rick said. I also heard the reasoning that Jimmy is playing a mole. He's trying to get in the bloodline to save his brother, Solo. And I was like, well, that doesn't work because, you know, I watched a show called Power Force over on Starz, and one of the characters is basically going along with their father's business because, and then he has a scene where he's talking to a grave of his deceased girlfriend, and he says the plan that, oh, I'm playing my dad to basically get to destroy him from within, basically. But you can't have that type of segment in wrestling. That's the problem here. That's the problem here. And yes, wrestling fans need things to be said right in front of their heads. You are putting things together that'll probably not be connected. So you're wasting your time, and we're all wasting our time here. They are basically made a mistake, which they can't come back from. But they have to figure out a way to come back from because Roman has to get to WrestleMania. And we have to connect this with Cody Rhodes and hope that Cody Rhodes is still as hot as he was in April. Like, this is a lot that they're trying to do. And now they're trying to hold off on Jimmy and Jay by separating them because they don't want them to fight. But they've already fought. They've already hit each other. So you've already broke this whole storyline to begin with. It all doesn't make sense. We can all try. We can all be apologists.
But what if they did one?
But they made a mistake.
Yeah, but what if they did one TV and all of a sudden, I don't know what they're going to do now, and they brought it all together? We would all say,
they can. I'm not saying
they can, but
they can.
Well, I don't know if they can or not. I mean, that's a big.
Look, you have the tie with Cody, right? I think Cody has worked his way back into the realm of the island of relevancy because he was the one who did his political ties to separate Jay Uso and get him over on Monday Night Raw. So Cody has already now inserted himself back into bloodline business, which Roman Reigns is not going to appreciate. He ain't going to like it. So there's Cody's road back to the island of relevancy whenever Roman Reigns comes in, which is what I think Cody's ulterior motives were. He ain't cashing in his political chips just to be a good guy and right a wrong that, Jay Uso quit WWE. Hell no.
What a spot for CM Punk.
Yeah,
we're gonna get him in there. We're gonna get him in there somewhere.
They're gonna do all this shit to set up Cody Rhodes' win at WrestleMania 40.
Yeah,
and then Endeavor's gonna hire CM Punk and be like, nah, they on this guy.
Yeah, kick him out. We're paying Punk too much money. We got to use him. Stick him in there.
Just fuck us. Okay, that's great. Cool. Awesome. Here's 6 months of work down the fucking drain.
I will give them credit because they did a good job of setting up potential next challengers for Roman Reigns on this episode.
Yes,
whether it's AJ Styles further involved with the bloodline.
Gunther.
Well, no, not Gunther.
Not tonight.
Whether it's LA Knight with that backstage segment with Paul Heyman. We see where they're going.
That's good. That was good.
Yeah, that was really good. That was one of the better parts of the entire show. So, yeah, I think that they did a good job of setting up potential challengers, but have they fixed this whole bloodline centerpiece story? Not so much. It feels like we're in the times of when basically they were dragging the whole Paul Heyman in the middle of Brock and Roman. It feels like we reverted back to there.
Yeah, it's like everything has exploded and we're still waiting for things to like settle and start to reform. And I think Roman coming back will be a nice piece to that. But they have to come up with some kind of way. Like, look, all you need is one Paul Heyman promo, one Paul Heyman backstage segment where he stops giving Jimmy the business, right? Just stops putting on the act and says, look, we know what you're actually trying to do, and then tell us what he's actually trying to do, and let's be real about what's going on here. That's it. That's all you have to do. And I hope they do that next week. Because you have Paul Heyman be the narrator of the story and tell us what the hell is going on. Because you're right, SP3. You can't shoot some backstage segment where Jimmy is not in front of a camera and he's on a cell phone talking to somebody saying what he's going to be doing. Hell, they have already booked themselves into a corner with that because in this very bloodline segment, we had something where it was like, hey, do you ever watch the show? Like some kind of a backstage, like with Sammy and Jay Uso, right? It was Sammy and Jay talking backstage and he was like, maybe you should watch the show, Paul Heyman, to Jimmy. So Jimmy can't sit here and do some secret camera thing. They already cut that out. You have to have Paul Heyman be the guy who's the narrator of the story and just tell Jimmy straight up what the hell he's doing so we know what the hell he's doing.
But at least we can admit, at least now we have things to talk about.
Oh, sure.
About a year ago, we were digging for things to talk about.
Longer than a year ago.
Now Yep, we were pondering. Oh, this is this and this is that.
We were now begging for a different match for crying out loud.
That's it.
But also, Dutch, we also have to remember, for like 3-4 months ago, we were raving about this bloodline storyline. Now we're not so much. We also got to also look at it as this. A year ago, we didn't have much to talk about. Before it was really good, and now it's like.
Now, are we still in the third, or are we in a rain delay right now? Like, what's going on? What inning are we in?
I think it's.
I would say
bottom of the third.
I'm gonna say we're gonna rain delay it, and we're gonna replay it. Stop it.
We're gonna postpone it. We got to start the game over. Is basically what Dutch is saying. Let's talk about Mr. Los Angeles Knight, shall we? He comes down to cut a promo tonight, and
we're at an hour.
Yeah, I know. Dude, bro, rips The Miz and Kevin Nash tonight in one fell swoop. A callback to Nash's promo to Eric Bischoff back in the day when he incorrectly referred to the word play as an adjective. He said, if I was a complete moron, I would say adjective, but I'm not. It's a verb. So let's focus on the verb of the word play here. I didn't come to play, calling back to The Miz. So for those of you who don't understand why he would be doing that, Kevin Nash has been very critical of LA Knight, calling him very generic, saying there's nothing original about him on his podcast.
Now, why would he say that?
What? I mean, he's entitled to his opinion.
Oh, what? I didn't say he wasn't, but why would he say that?
Everybody says that about LA. Like a lot of people say LA Knight is very similar to The Rock, or he's very similar to Stone Cold. He's very similar to Macho Man Randy Savage. Here's what LA Knight is.
I don't think he's at all like Savage. But I will agree with Stone Cold and Rock a little bit.
Yeah, look, he just has this. He's
Connectivity.
the walking embodiment. Yeah, he's the walking embodiment of late 1980s to mid 1990s professional wrestling. Like, he just has that old school feel to him, and that's not a bad thing. There's a lot of little bits and pieces about who he is and this character and this over the topness of his promos that remind you of different people from back in the day. And that's where I think people get like, oh, he's a total and complete ripoff. And even the Miz kind of picked at that apart when they were doing their promos back and forth. But who gives a crap? The man is selling merch everywhere. He's over as hell. He's getting the loudest his cheers are only rivaled by Dominic Mysterio's boos at this point. Like, that's where the man is right now. And it's earned him a new contract, reportedly. That's getting finalized here. They're giving him a new deal a year or two before his current one is getting ready to expire. This is the guy who this time last year, Dutch, was too old at age 40. And they're like, nah, maybe we'll make you the manager of some male models. My God, how a year can change some shit.
Well, we called that right. I called it dead on arrival because he wasn't. And you talk about Cody Rhodes' hard time story. That's really LA Knight's story because he hung around and went to all these different places, went to NXT and he went to Impact, but he had to wait till somebody gave him the chance. And then they brought him out and beat the living shit out of him for the first 2 months, and look at him now because he's got something and there's no way you can physically explain it other than he just connects with that crowd. And if he connects, then there's money there. And I'm glad for him. I'm glad for him. I really am.
Yeah, and SP3.
Let me talk at you. Yeah.
And look, man, the guy's great with audience participation. Like that's one of the first big things. Simple catchphrase that people can say. My God, man, like everywhere you go, you hear people saying, yeah. Like, I was hearing it in the United Center in Chicago ahead of an AEW show. We had LA Knight and CM Punk chants. That one was going on after the doors opened. Like, that's where this guy is right now. And SP3 tonight, I thought he had a good promo exchange with Grayson Waller and Austin Theory, who interrupted him as he was getting ready to accept the Miz's challenge for a rematch. I liked the fact that he said, look, I didn't ask for John Cena's endorsement. I don't need John Cena's endorsement. If you want to be the cockroach that hangs around and you want me to squash you one more time, that's fine. We can do that. He gets into a tiff with Miz and Theory, sets up a match with Austin Theory, and he gets his win back. He lost to Theory with the United States title on the line. And tonight, he learned from his mistakes. He did not let Grayson Waller be the it factor that distracted him from this win tonight. Austin Theory was too worried about trying to hit him into the turnbuckle, and LA was like, all right, fine. I don't need that. I got freaking blunt force trauma out of nowhere. Your ass is done. LA Knight gets the win tonight. And I like Grayson Waller in commentary as well.
Yeah, I think they did an excellent job of further presenting LA Knight as a top babyface. Like, they did that on the whole Bray Wyatt tribute show with him having that final promo and being in the main event. And they did that here again with him kind of having the centerpiece promo. Now we're getting used to this kind of being his thing. He comes out for a promo, he then has a match, and he gets the win. That's how you put someone over. And he's been interacting with bigger stars, whether it's John Cena, whether it's Paul Heyman. We've been seeing him be viewed by the fans. He's being viewed by the fans as well as the people in the back, it seems, on a higher position than he was before. And just the way he kind of just eviscerated Austin Theory and Grayson Waller, who A-Town Down Under is some brilliant name play. And also, they have serious Miz and Morrison vibes to them. They come off like Miz and Morrison of like the 2008, 2009 era of WWE. So I think that those two together can be something if they want to play with that. And, you know, Grayson Waller, I think, is a guy that could be a top heel in the WWE. Austin Theory, he just needs to find something new to do. But I think this is a great thing for him to do after losing the U.S. Championship. So I was happy with everybody involved in these two segments.
I think this is a nice pivot for Theory. Like, they were clearly working with him in Pretty Deadly, which it was nice to see them tonight, although, albeit briefly. We don't tend to see WWE talent if they're hurt, so it's nice to see them involved in the show. Nice to see Dakota Kai week in and week out. But yeah, this is a nice pivot, Dutch, for Theory, who was kind of stuck in a rut with the United States Championship. I think he and Waller work great together. I think A-Town Down Under is a tag team that could work and could get some serious heat if they win the tag team titles, if and when that comes along. But that might be the Street Profits here soon. But anyway, regardless, I like those two together. I think this is a good development for Austin Theory.
What he said, I couldn't say it any better. You said everything I wanted to say, and I agree with you 100%.
So let's talk about the LA Knight backstage then, by the way, because he got
this show is easy to do. I just got to agree with you. Yeah, what he said.
Oh, it's great. I love it. No, it just makes me feel good that, you know, you agree with my words, Dutch. That it really makes me feel good. So we do get a backstage segment tonight where Paul Heyman, by the way, is back there talking with Adam Pearce. And he's trying to figure out who the trade compensation is going to be. So they're going to drag this out for a while because somebody's coming over to SmackDown for Jey Uso.
CM Punk. Oh, he can't come over.
I think it's going to end up being Kevin Owens based off of what we heard on Monday Night Raw. But that's just me. And actually, I believe it was Sid who put that idea in my head. So I got to give him credit because the man is smart and is good at what he does. But we get LA Knight who comes in. He interrupts. He basically like goes right up to Pierce. It pretty much ignores Paul Heyman and says, look, I want Miz next week. Make it happen. And he's like, sure, you got it. And then they kind of cross eyes for a second there, Dutch. And Heyman does his little shtick where he's going to kiss your ass a little bit. And he's like, hey, this is the first time I've ever been really introduced to you. Yeah. I'm a big admirer of what you do. Now, respect the hell out of me, and next time you come into this locker room when you know that I'm here, you knock on the damn door. We clear on that? And then he just gets right up in his face and says, yeah. That's
good.
They gave us a little seed with Heyman making fun of him a few weeks ago, calling him a flash in the pan, and now all of a sudden we got a sprout. Like, LA Knight and Roman Reigns is happening at some point. I love this.
Yep. I think they got a lot of they have just increased Roman Reigns' his opponents. I mean, a lot in the last 2 weeks. Because I'm a big fan of Gunther, but that's much later. And they got Corey sitting in the wings. Now, LA Knight. So he's got a lot of opponents. They got at least 6 months of opponents right there that they didn't have a year and a half ago. Hell, they didn't have anybody but Drew McIntyre, and that was it.
Hell, they didn't have any after he beat Cody Rhodes, and they developed the Jey Uso one, and now it's like, okay, now they don't have anybody. Well, now they got a few people, and we haven't even seen Roman on television yet, which is SP3 where Paul Heyman is so valuable because Paul Heyman can set up Roman Reigns rivalries without Reigns even being there.
Yeah, they did it so many times, and it's also the other members of the bloodline. Because if you remember, even back in the pandemic era during the Thunderdome, a lot of weeks it would just be Jey Uso. Jey Uso on his own, fighting like guys like Bryan Danielson or your Kevin Owens or your Cesaros, whoever Roman Reigns was feuding with at the time. So I think that's what we're gonna go back to for the time being. And LA Knight has not even kind of sniffed that part of the main event scene or the roster in WWE. So it is going to be a nice change of pace. I think that he's the guy that they probably positioned to get the Royal Rumble match. So this is why I love the fact that we're building to that right now.
Yeah, and one guy who has been there.
Who was in charge? Who was in charge of creative before Paul Heyman took it over? I mean, Triple H took it over.
Vince McMahon.
Who was ahead of it? Vince.
Yeah, Vince.
The better part of 40 years.
With Bruce Pritchard as his number 2, as his director of whatever thingamajig. I will give WWE credit. I think this is the most since like the year 2000, the most over group of baby faces they've had at one time. As far as like Cody, who's ridiculously over, LA Knight, Seth Rollins. You got like a whole bunch of people that are like really, really over baby faces. Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens. Like it's kind of crazy that WWE has done that. And then you have a lot of over heels like the Judgment Day and Dominic Mysterio. So yeah, I think they're doing a good job as far as that.
Yeah, and
they are.
And honestly, it would not take. I guarantee you, it would not take much to get AJ Styles heated up and right back on that same level. And that's where I love that now he's getting involved with Jimmy, and he's getting spiked by Solo at the end of the night, and his inclusion in all of this. Because I've been sitting here waiting for how long for them to do something of substance with AJ Styles and the entire collective of the OC for that matter. So at least involving them in AJ's storyline, like Jesus, they're doing something. AJ Styles has been back from that broken ankle for what, 6 months now at this point, it seems like, and they've done nothing. Hell, they've done nothing with him since he put over Omos. Like, competed for the IC title a couple times, maybe, if memory serves correct, if my timeline is right, but they put together the OC. They don't do much. He breaks his ankle. He's out for a while. They bring him back. Hey, OC's back on TV, and then, yeah, we're just going to do nothing with AJ Styles.
Yeah, feud with Karrion Kross.
He had a feud with Karrion Kross. That was it.
It's pretty much all he's done since.
That was a good one.
Please fire up AJ Styles. Please.
I'm still remembering that one between AJ and Kross.
So
riveting television.
Riveting, it was.
We got to talk about Judgment Day before we wrap up here.
Please.
They got a lot of time on this show. They cut a promo tonight. They end up getting in a match with the Brawling Brutes. It goes 2 segments. It lasts a long-ass time. They end up getting the win. Dominic Mysterio plays his part in that. Dom, again, that boy tried to cut a promo tonight. I heard Rhea and I heard India, and I did not hear another word that man said. Nothing. Like, they got to start putting subtitles when he starts cutting promos.
It's the dirty they added to his name.
Yeah, that's exactly
that's what it is.
People are so pissed for you, Dutch, that that they're just constantly booing him at this point. But after the match happened, guys, is when the really interesting stuff happened with the Judgment Day tonight, because during their promo, they're talking about how the bloodline is crumbling and they're not, Judgment Day's time, they're taking over. We got all the gold. We did something the bloodline couldn't do. We beat KO and Sammy, this, that, and the other thing. And then afterwards, after they beat the Brawling Brutes, then we get Lashley and the Street Profits that come down to the ring for a standoff. Now, this is interesting, and it's kind of odd because internally, according to reports, that group collectively is listed as heels. So they have a heel trio standing toe-to-toe with a heel trio. That does not make sense on paper. Where WWE lucks out, though, SP3, is ain't nobody booing Lashley, Montez, and Dawkins right now. So They're fine. I'm cool with this. It's dumb on paper, but it's going to end up working out in their favor.
Oh, it'll work. That's a great matchup. That really is. Because you can look at it and tell if that works. And I think it's great for both teams.
Yeah, it makes a world of sense to me. It's kind of like when they put the Brawling Brutes against Imperium. Like, you didn't think that worked too well because at the time Brawling Brutes were heels, and that got them over ridiculously as baby faces. So yeah. I think it's going to do the same thing for Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits going at it with the Judgment Day. I thought the focus on the Judgment Day was good, although the promo, like you said, Dominic Mysterio, great heat as always. Much like his promo that I didn't hear, I didn't even get much from what Finn and Damian said, because they basically just said, "Oh, we won. We're the champions." Judgment Day running what they always say. Like it wasn't. They didn't add anything to the proceedings, and then Ridge Holland had to dominate much of the talking time for the Brawling Brutes. That wasn't much good, and that came right after Austin Theory lost the crowd talking. So it was just a series of bad promos where I was just like, y'all kind of lost the crowd here. The crowd was really into the booing Dominic stuff.
Yeah, till you showed up. Oh yeah,
I think a lot of it comes
killed
down
the crowd. Stupid.
A lot of it comes down to the dialogue. The dialogue is just bad. And that's my biggest issue with the Judgment Day is they make Damian Priest cut the same freaking promo every Monday, and now apparently he's going to cut the same promo every Monday and Friday. You know when Damian Priest is awesome? When he's backstage cutting it up with Rhea Ripley and he just goes off the rails where he doesn't have to be this character that he's playing anymore, which at times he's playing with he's playing a character with the rest of the Judgment Day. Like, oh, I got to get along with Finn. And then no, he just starts rambling off in Spanish. He's like, I'm tired of this bullshit with Finn. And he starts going off and this, that, and the other. When Damian is just allowed to be himself, he's great. Just let him be himself. Don't give him this, all rise for the Judgment Day and we're the best and we're taking over. You've said that same thing for 8 weeks in a row. Can we give this man some new lines, please? Or just give him an open mic?
It's been a year, Rick. It's not even been eight weeks in a row. It's been a year of the same thing they saying. So we need to give them something they can sink their teeth into as far as a storyline, because they really haven't had much of a storyline since Edge, like as far as with somebody else. It's all been about the dissension within the Judgment Day more than it's been about them feuding with Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Cody Rhodes, Seth Rollins, all these people they face every week. They have not had a real story with them. It's been more about the story with themselves than a story with anybody else.
But they got 51 more weeks this year to get them something. You know, wrestling fans
they only got a few more weeks of this year. Only 3 more months of this year.
He's talking about the fiscal year of WWE.
The 52 weeks in a year, but wrestling fans are spoiled anyway. They're not doing anything with them, and then they do something with them, and then it's a successful run. And now, like the Bloodline, it's over now. I don't know what they're going to do now till they come up with the next thing. We said this about 6 weeks ago about the Bloodline, because I was confused where they're going to go, and they have slid off that cliff a little bit. Let's see if they can bring it back.
Yep.
But Roman has to show up to get this story back on track.
Well, and here's another wrinkle that we haven't dove into at great length is after the main event tonight, when AJ Styles takes out Solo, backs off Heyman, hits the phenomenal forearm, and beats Jimmy to win the main event. Judgment Day comes down and attacks AJ Styles and offers him up as a sacrifice to Solo Sikoa so he can hit the Samoan Spike. And I'm sitting here and I'm going, y'all just said the bloodline was crumbling and you guys are taking over and this, that, and now you're helping the bloodline. And somebody said it earlier in the chat, and it makes me wonder, is it they're helping the bloodline or do they want Solo Sikoa? That's my question. Somebody said it in the chat earlier. I'll try to find it here.
Pretty damn good. I didn't get that, by the way, because I never watched the end. I never watched the end of the show. So
question.
We have a delay here.
No, I was just saying I didn't get that. I think it was more they were trying to get on the good graces of the bloodline. Like the commentary said. Like I said, we need with WWE, I think that we need to just stop trying to connect our own dots and just go by the dots that they give us. And what they gave us was this is the Judgment Day trying to get in the good graces of the bloodline.
Yeah, that's what I've been trying to tell Rick the whole time, but he don't listen. No, we're going to do it. We got to figure it out.
That is a good idea, though. Good idea.
That is. But it makes you think.
If you're a team and you're talking about this force that's crumbling, and you want to take over, crumble them further. The most loyal member of the bloodline since the Elder sent him in has been Solo. He has never, outside of a couple of times where he's looked at Roman Reigns in his matches, where Reigns is starting to crack, and he looks at him like, You mother effer. Like, come on, get your shit together. Like, other than a couple of those times, he's never wavered. He has never wavered, and his loyalty has never been tested. He has chosen the bloodline over his own damn brothers over and over and over again. He's chosen Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman. So if you can separate him, you kill the bloodline by separating Solo Sikoa from them. So I could see where that would be them going for the jugular. I could see that story developing. Do I give WWE creative enough credit to do that? And I think that's the direction they're going. No, but I like the idea.
It seems like we're setting up for war games, like Iron Med said in the chat. It seems like we're setting up for Bloodline versus the Judgment Day. That the Judgment Day is going to bring this family back together because they're recruiting now. If this is true with the idea that was suggested in the chat that Judgment Day is after Solo, that means they're after two members of the Bloodline because you had Dominic Mysterio try to recruit Jey Uso on Raw.
Yeah.
Very good. Very astute observation.
All right.
That was last week. That was Monday.
That was this past Monday.
Yeah.
Oh, in Raw. Okay. I never watched Raw.
We know
it confused. It can see another smart ass remark from Rick. Rick, I'm writing all this down. I'm documenting this.
You can accuse me of being an ass, but smart, no. Okay, so I can't, Sid, what you got going on in True Heel Heat this week?
Check out the True Heel Heat flagship podcast tomorrow, 11:05 a.m. Eastern Time. It will be myself, Miss Chrissy Love, and Jeremy Lambert of Fightful. He'll be joining us as we discuss CM Punk being fired, his possible jumping over to WWE. We'll break all that down, as well as AEW All Out, WWE Payback, and the week that was from professional wrestling. So check us out.
Dutch, what you got going on?
Nothing. I just do this podcast with you guys. That's basically it. Now you can contact me, Dirty Dutch Mantell with 2 L's at gmail.com. And you can check me out, Storytime with Dutch, on YouTube. I'm proud to say we got 91,000 subscribers now. I'm trying to get 100. So go over there and subscribe and see where it leads you. I think you'll enjoy it. And Rick, let me ask you, what do you got going on?
Nothing. I'm going to try to chill this weekend. I had a busy weekend. I drove 1,050 plus miles last weekend from Cincinnati to Pittsburgh to Chicago, back home to Cincinnati in 3 days to go to those 2 shows. Wrote a big blog about it up on cagesightseats.com if you want to check that out, by the way. It's also my pinned tweet. You can follow me there, or on the X, I guess, at Rick Ucchino, like it's spelled on the screen. Please follow me there. Also, make sure to check out my YouTube channel. Link is in the bio on Twitter. You can check that out as well. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. So, Dutch, if you want to send like just 1,000, I will. Over to our YouTube channel that I do with SP3, I would really appreciate that.
Send me a link and I'll put it up.
Oh, you're the man. I'll do it.
You're going to get 500 or 1,000 from that anyway.
I would get, please.
What is Sid doing?
He's on the X.
Oh, I see. That's what he is.
He's literally on the
X. That
is
actually, that's a great X, Sid. I don't think I've seen one better. All right, guys.
Yep.
Appreciate it. We'll see you next week at what time? 10:05?
10:05 after SmackDown.
Your show comes on at 11:05, right, Sid?
11:05 a.m. Eastern Time.